you're just giving them what you think, and that's where it all goes wrong.
Today, we're talking about mindset.
Mindset. I mean, this is a difficult industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And every single, day, minute, hour, I think personally for me, I know I go through imposter syndrome. That's a lot of fun.
Sure.
And how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
I can wallow all day like, I should have really, but
obviously I suck.
Yeah. And again, I think that's just the nature of the industry, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
How do you, I mean, I've got one way to fix it. Do a podcast.
Or book a job.
No, well, I mean, in terms of creating your own content, right?
Sure.
So
Okay.
that's something that with on-camera actors, that's encouraged. Create your own stuff instead of waiting for the phone to ring, have your agent book you on something. So in a way, this is kind of a way to keep yourselves busy doing the stuff you love. And I think the mindset plays into finding other things outside of voiceover to keep yourself busy so that you're not like, am I going to book it? When am I going to book it? What's the last booking that I had? And then you start looking at your booking ratio and then you're like, you can get really caught up in that very quickly.
You can sit in that little room and just beat yourself up.
Indeed.
I can do that without sitting in this room.
Yeah. I can't count the number of times I was just in tears. I mean, yes, I could.
But it sounds better to say I couldn't.
Yes, it's definitely more emotional. It's acting. But you are correct. You have to. It's so much work, and it's so strenuous mentally to sit in there. You think you don't know whether you're doing it right, because this is a business where you give a product that you think the client is looking for, and 9 times out of 10, you never get a response unless you book the gig. Yep. That's hard, especially for a new person.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They say rejection is, most of the big part of the thing, but it's not even rejection because you don't hear anything, right? Like in some cases, I'd almost rather hear like, yeah, we went a different way than, something like I felt like I did such a good job and I really, really wanted it. And then nothing. Like,
and then you see the finished product.
Right.
And it's totally different.
Hell?
Yeah. What were they thinking?
But then I feel better because most of the time I'm like, oh, they went with a male voice. Okay. All right. Because there's nothing I can do there.
Say that.
Yeah, that doesn't help me.
Okay, but or you could tell they went with a different gender and you're like, okay, I see they went I hear they went a different way. Right. That kind of helps. But I think obsessing about it, you really just have to audition and let it go. Even so, I know there's times where I'm like, I know I nailed it.
It's funny though, because it seems like it's almost always the ones where you're like, yeah, whatever. Those are the ones that you book, and the ones you're like, oh, I nailed that. Like you never
hear back, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then you hear the finished product, and you go, that's what they wanted?
Right.
They could have said that, and I wouldn't have auditioned.
Well, and that's a topic we should get into sometime down the road, maybe when we're talking to a casting person or something, because I know that a lot of times what they look for in casting versus where they end up is 180 from itself, right? Like it's not even on the same planet.
Yes.
Oftentimes.
And mindset, don't bog down on the specs. Don't crush yourself on the specs, because a lot of times the specs don't mean anything.
True.
Yeah, I mean, look at them to make sure that, you're sort of at least in the realm of reality. Like you're in. Make sure it's male.
Yeah.
Or female. Come on, guys. Jeez.
Well,
okay.
Should I read for a female role? I don't think so.
Well, correct. I mean, I know there's a lot of weirdness.
Well, and and oftentimes they're looking for an Asian voice or a black voice or whatever it is, and I don't match those specs. So I probably am not going to audition for those roles unless it says open and this is maybe what we're thinking or whatever. But if it doesn't say, and they just say, here's our celebrity references and,
I love those.
Whatever.
Oh,
they're not looking for you to sound like that. They're looking for that
Oscar
attitude,
the Grouch.
right?
Wait, what?
And this was something, wow, we're going a whole different direction than mindset. But this was something that I've had conversations with people about this, with coaches and casting about this specifically. If it doesn't specify ethnicity and, it gives like 4 different celebrity references and 3 of them are black guys and one is like, I don't know, McConaughey or something. They're not looking for a black voice necessarily. They're not looking for someone to sound like person A, B, C, or D. They're looking for the attitude that they think those references represent, right? So they're not looking for a sound alike. They're not looking for that ethnicity. They're looking for that feel, right? So McConaughey, for example, is, pretty laid back. Pretty laid back, down earth. All right. Exactly. But they're not looking for that little Texas
they don't want
drawl,
that.
right?
They don't want that. Right. But see, going back to mindset, and when you see stuff like that, because that can really mess with your mind. You're like, oh, well, they don't want me. They're not looking for me.
Exactly. And that was something that that I've heard, is that a lot of times they'll send these things out and not get back as many as they expected. And it turns out it's because people were just assuming like, oh, well, you listed all the references you listed were black guys and I'm not a black guy, so you didn't want me.
They actually read the specs.
Yeah, they read the specs, but they just assumed, and it didn't say that.
Right.
Correct.
But I think oftentimes that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them what we think they want versus just bringing ourselves to it.
Right. And ideally, I mean, obviously, it's not this way on pay to plays where oftentimes you get access to everything. It's not this way with all agents, but ideally, your representation or wherever you're getting stuff from is kind of giving you stuff they think you'll book anyway, right?
That's because you're with a particular agency that
My
cares.
Representation does.
Oh, your representation cares. I have some representation that...
I prefaced it by saying they all don't do that.
They don't.
But
they really
ideally
don't.
they would.
Right.
And
that's another podcast.
That is another podcast.
And that's another podcast.
And back to mindsets.
Squirrel.
I think the mindset never changes, whether you're a newbie just getting beat up in the business, trying to decide whether you overinvested, and all the way to a pro
that's a good one.
Who now at this point in the business, and you don't even want to go down the AI rabbit hole. I was going to say pothole, but
podhole.
That could be another podcast.
Indeed. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it affects both ends, and both ends have to be ready for anything that's thrown at them, or in this case, not. You have to be strong.
Yeah.
Yep. And you've got to have the entrepreneurial spirit to go after it and go get it.
Right.
Because it's not going to come to you. Even if you've got representation, yes, they'll deliver things to your inbox and you have to, audition for them and so forth.
There he goes, bragging again.
Pay to plays bring them to you and you got to audition for them. I'm not bragging. Good Lord. But even then, you're not very likely to make enough money just from things that you find on pay to play or from an agent or two to do it full time. Ideally you need to do direct marketing. You need to go after, direct clients, repeat business. Business is where it's all about,
Sure. So, I mean, being it's an actual business, it's not just a guy with a microphone or a girl with a microphone or a woman with a microphone. Whatever. You have to treat it like a business, and that's the mindset you have to have.
Yes. Unless you want it to be a hobby, in which case, that's fine. But expect that it's going to be a very, very, very disappointing hobby that sucks a lot of money out of your bank account. Because that's how hobbies like this go.
That's true.
You're going to be rejected a lot. You're going to waste a lot of money on coaching and classes and things that aren't necessarily doing you good because you didn't vet your coach, or you're not getting the right kind of coaching for the things you want to do, or you're going after the wrong kinds of jobs. Like you're best suited to do anime dubbing and you're going after commercials, or you're trying to do e-learning and you're really a medical narration person, or whatever.
Or your mom told you had a great voice. And
I've been doing it since I was a child.
Somebody told me my voice was wonderful and I should do voiceover, and so I'm doing voiceover.
We're so good.
And I do a great Scooby.
Oh yeah, my impressions are off the chain, brah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, and you will hear at least that's a response you'll get. Who cares?
That's true.
That's great. And
honestly, so having worked in the New York market, when you have feedback,
that's like a major market, right?
Well, it's kind of a major market, yeah. But it's also a market where people are very I've been in a session where they don't give you anything other than, yeah, that was flat. Let's do it again. That'll mess with your head. Okay. But that's what you get. It's, you are a pro. You need to know how to change it up kind of on a dime. But if you go back, like that's happened years ago and it's still in my head, like, that was flat. Do it again, but better. And you're like, okay. And
what does flat mean?
What does better mean?
Clearly it wasn't what they wanted. But then, the next time I went through it was fine. But it was just the idea, or the times where you book that lovely demo, right? Where it's done for the advertiser to go and for them to pitch work, right? Mm-hmm. And you do the demo and then they decided, you know what? We're going to put that to air, but we're hiring new actors or new voice actors to do it. It's like, crap, that messes with your head. So, there's a lot of stuff in this industry. You really have to have a thick skin, because
you really do.
If you don't, it's I personally, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to guess that you guys do not, but I do meditate daily just to kind of calm and clear any sort of negative energy, because there's way too much of it in voiceover with all the rejection and all the waiting and maybes and going different directions. And so that's what I do. What do you guys do?
I was going to say I medicate daily, but that's not true. It's just the funny response.
It's a good one.
My answer.
Sorry. Al, what do you do?
I punch things. It's
punch and roll. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is for anyone who's had a regular job, and I still keep a regular job, it's just an ongoing, endless job interview, this business.
Ooh, yeah.
It keeps you on your toes. I mean, they're not asking you give me a time when you solved a problem and how that helped and how did you feel? You don't get that. And that's a bullshit question. But it's an ongoing where, you're just giving ideas and you're giving them what you think. And that's where it all goes wrong.
Well, if we're going to get a little existential here, you are kind of answering that question though, right? Because you're embodying how it felt when you were in that situation and did that thing or whatever when you read a script that's relevant to that, right?
True.
Storytelling. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So that was fun.
Where do we go from there? What do you, but what do you
Great,
do?
Will. I thought I had something going.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't do the right things at all.
I don't do character voices at all. So Here we go.
I don't take things personally often. I won't say never because we all know that's not true. I don't take the rejection personally.
Often.
Most of the time. No, I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow. Every once in a while, I'll, punch something, I suppose.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it really works.
Occasionally, I feel stabby and like I need to break something. But in general, I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow. Do the thing.
Do you have a cocktail today, Will?
I don't. I have
What?
a big glass of water.
No, that's gin. Didn't we agree? There's gin and Al has vodka, or maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah, it must be vodka. It doesn't smell like
tequila. I'm still on a coffee kick, so there's that.
Okay.
Is it Irish?
It could be. Why not?
That's fair. That's fair.
But I think it does help to have others in this business. I know that for a lot of the on-camera stuff I do too, I have a couple of producer / actor / writer, content creator friends. And that's what we do, right? We just kind of talk about, well, that was crappy. This happened, that happened. And I mean, not for nothing, Will, but that's what we do a lot.
It's true. We do.
And
we
helps.
Commiserate a lot.
Yes. And having that kind of,
and people always talk about, oh, you need an accountability group and you need people who are a positive influence. No, I don't. I need somebody that I can bitch about stuff with.
Yeah, you need someone who's going to tell you the truth.
And then once I've done that, then I feel better. Eventually.
I do too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an ongoing, let's just cry to each other for hours on end. No, you're right. You want someone.
Does he? It's an ongoing always. It's a constant.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Depends on the topic.
It's a mindset.
Yes, mindset. Sorry, that's what we're talking about. Mindset. Yes.
Right.
Don't let it beat you up, guys. Don't let it beat you up.
Positive mindset. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm positive that this is a hard business. That's what I'm positive about.
And you can't let it get you down.
Did I tell you I won an award?
What?
No? Oh, okay.
That's right. You won an award. And you were nominated for an award. And I was nominated for an award at a different awards. Look at us.
We're all nominees.
We're all
wieners.
Oh my gosh.
There's the mindset. Good things do happen.
That is a validation, right?
Yeah.
That is a validation.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's another podcast. But the question is, does it really matter if you win an award or not? And practically speaking,
no,
probably not. Is it going to get you hired? Probably not. Unless in the very unlikely case, it's like you and somebody else, and on every level, you are exactly the same level of good. Mm-hmm. And they go, well, this guy won an award. Maybe we'll go with him. It's probably not going to happen.
Right.
But maybe. But winning an award feels pretty good.
But also, it is a great marketing piece. Just to say your award's nominated, but then to be like, and I won. Sure. That is a great way to open a door.
Yes.
I used it a lot to my advantage when I won a scholarship last year to kind of go out and say, hey, I won this. Like, great.
Yeah. Especially if you're looking for representation, that's a nice little reason to email somebody and go, hey, guess what? I just won this award. I think it's really cool. Right. And by the way, I love the work that you do. I love who's on your roster. I'd love to be considered to be on your roster, whatever. Right. But
wait, let me write this down.
It's an excuse to contact somebody, especially if you've already contacted them before.
Right.
It's an excuse to contact them again, especially if it's maybe a direct lead that you've marketed to that maybe they're not necessarily cold, but they're not really warm. Like you talked to them maybe months ago and things haven't happened, but it's a good reason to reach out again and go, hey, by the way,
sure,
you probably haven't heard, I just won this award. Still love to work with you. You got anything going on?
Yep. Yeah, you're not below me now, but I'd still love to work with you.
Right.
But my rate has increased.
By the way, I'm now 10 times more expensive.
Absolutely.
That's right. So instead of $15 that you're offering,
Now it's going to be
0
16.
and 57
that's
cents.
another podcast.
16.57.
Your rates. Oh my gosh. Total another podcast. So many podcasts.
What?
So many topics.
Who's making notes? Who's taking notes?
We're recording this, right? Notes.
What? Did you hit the
is this
record
being
button?
recorded?
Please stand by.
Can I listen to this later? I don't think I'm going to be there when it's live.
And now we drink.
So, imposter syndrome.
Oh,
The coolest quote that I've heard about I don't know if it's even a quote, but the coolest thing I've heard about imposter syndrome is real imposters don't feel it.
Ooh, I never heard that. Okay, now I feel better about myself already.
That's
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
Because they believe their own.
Well, because they know that they're faking it, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who's like a con man knows that he's conning you. So he doesn't like feel like he's an imposter while he's doing it because he knows that he's not real.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Right?
All right. Well,
Yes.
but why do we have it so often? I'm a good person.
Why do bad things have to happen to good people?
I don't understand.
I think it's because of
crisis.
it's because this is very competitive. It's a
And probably
very competitive
because you're
business.
a good person.
And because you don't ever hear anything back,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to wonder, like, well, are they even listening to me? Like, am I actually, or are they listening and they hate it so much, like they won't even tell me? Like, am I actually that bad? Like it's just all the stupid voices in your head that when you don't have information to latch onto, they just start telling you lies. Like, oh, yeah, you're not getting it because you're no good. Oh, they're not talking to you because you're no good.
Right.
Oh, you're going to have to spend more money.
Yes. You haven't done enough coaching. You haven't gone to enough classes, which you haven't.
Yeah.
Well, you always need to coach. You always need to
another
go to classes.
Topic,
But
another podcast.
You've got to make sure that they're serving you properly. Because if you're coaching just for the sake of coaching and you're not getting anywhere with it, well, then you're just throwing money away.
If you're not interested in doing character voices or animation, don't coach with that guy.
Yeah, and don't take a class on anime dubbing. They're wonderful classes, but if it doesn't interest you, why are you spending money on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to do it.
I know it's hard to believe. I'm going to go off topic and ask a question.
What?
You guys, I know. The community college one-day
seminar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things hurt your head and your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
They really do.
Are you talking about where they vet you in order to join their program?
Oh, yeah. You get the call at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Specifically voiceover one-day seminar things?
Yes.
Yeah.
In any case.
Those things
don't
mess.
do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Those are all demo mills.
Yep.
Another podcast topic.
Definitely.
I'm writing that one down. That's a good one.
That's a great podcast topic.
I mean,
Without
we
naming
aren't
any
the
names.
first to cover it. It's been covered by every other voiceover podcast ever, but
by us.
It can't be covered too much.
It can mess with your mindset because it sets you up for ridiculous failure. I think.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because
after 5 coaching sessions, you'll be ready for a demo and you'll be able to go out there and book all the biggest national commercials.
Everything is in your favor. Yeah, no.
All
that's
the
not
time.
How it works. All the Yes.
See, Victoria, you were in the Midwest at one point.
Mm-hmm. I was born in the Midwest.
Did you ever see Menards commercials? The old ones with the guy with the white hair?
I know the Menards commercials.
I can't remember his name. He had a broadcasting school. Did you know this?
Did he really?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
To
So
talk
for
like
people-
that?
Yeah, I assume. So for people who have never seen the old and even the new voice of Menards sounds like that.
Oh.
Well, you know,
After he
why
died,
change? Well, you know, go with what
After he-
works.
Yeah, after he died, they replaced him with somebody who could do the voice. But yeah, if you've never seen them, if you're not from the Midwest and you're not familiar with Menards, which is kind of a regional Home Depot, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
can
actually one of
can
the
I do the
greatest
voice?
stores ever. They have
Go do the
everything.
voice. Do
It's
it.
a
Do it.
fantastic, yeah. But all their commercial was a really way over the top, old school radio sound. The save big money at Menards, that kind of thing. Like, oh my god! And
He
this
just
guy
puked
had a
on the mic.
broadcast school. I did.
That's a lot of vomit.
My instructors would be so angry with me for that puke.
Yes.
Yes, but that was a voice matching demonstration.
Spit it out.
I'm like, that word. That
Yes.
word. I got the words.
Yes,
It's not written down.
It was demonstration. I would
It's a
never do it
demonstration only.
intentionally on purpose.
Correct. Don't try
That's
this
another
at home.
podcast. Getting rid of the radio. Bye-bye.
See, I'm lucky. I wasn't in radio long enough for that to be an issue.
They said I had a face for radio. What does that mean?
Never heard that. What?
I wanted to be in radio. I actually I would have given my left arm to be on the radio.
I wasn't
but
expecting arm.
it would not have really paid well.
No, not at all.
that or
and
any
I'd be
other
standing
body
there
part.
with one arm. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
not worth it.
mindset.
Mindset. Yes.
Here's my mindset. I still want to be in radio, even though it doesn't pay well. Because radio is, well, maybe not anymore. Radio is supposed to be fun. Radio used to be fun. And I think, here's my big theory.
Go ahead, Johnny Fever.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. I think that you could start a radio station in most any city of virtually any size and run it the way that they were run in the 80s and 90s and like go to war with one of the big conglomerate-owned stations.
Until they
win.
buy you and give you a fat check.
Well, that'd be okay too, but
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think you could win because radio isn't local enough anymore, and it's supposed to be. I mean, it's like by mandate by the FCC, it's supposed to be local.
Have you
know how
listened
to
to
get
it
around without
recently, though?
Yeah.
Some, a little bit.
I mean, I
The
have.
station I listen to most is playing all Christmas music right now. So, and I only really listen when I'm in the car, which isn't much because I work from home.
There you go. I listen to Sirius XM, so there's certain stations I'll go to, and I tend to really like it when it's the, 80s on 8 VJs.
I thought you were going to
However-
say NPR. I pictured you in NPR.
Wow. Thanks.
Ouch.
Appreciate that.
Damn.
Talk about mindset. Thanks.
That's like going in for
Thanks.
headshots and being
I
told you
mean-
look like a grandma.
Oh, did you really go there? Did you really go there? Okay.
Yeah, I
went
told-
there.
Okay.
I'm saying that
Okay,
what
because
he
you know
said
what?
is as bad as that. I'm not
Because
saying it.
because let's go there. Okay, let's go there because this is mindset.
Okay, ma'am.
Because this, being called ma'am too, that's a great one. But yeah, going in for headshots in LA with a really young photographer, and that's what he comes out with. So, what are you getting, submitted for? What are you getting calls for? And I'm like, caregiver, nurse. That's always been like, I get called in for that. Recently, it's a lot of detectives. I'm like, okay,
That's fun.
detective work. Yeah, that is fun.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, he's like, so what about young grandma? Talk about mindset. That's still messing with me. This was like this was over a week ago. I will keep that probably for at least the next decade and a half. When I will be could possibly be that. And I was like, I don't do the G word. No. No, I can be the mom of teenagers. I can be the mom of college grads. I'll be damned if I'm going to be grandma. And by the way, I'm not going to ever hear mom's so much nicer. Just sounds like mom times two. I mean, I grew up watching like reruns of Bewitched, and I really liked Endora and Grandmama. I like that. That's fine. But grandma, I was called if I was getting called in for grandma roles. I am
no.
Technically, no.
Is that when you would decide, I guess I'm done doing on camera?
I mean,
and go straight to the big bucks of voiceover.
I have the blue hair because I decided I'm going to be a blue-haired lady on my own accord. I'm going to do it my way. But I think it does play into the mindset very much so. You see how we're going full circle? Because I think often we're told you have to be a certain age, or if you're past this age, there's nothing else for you. Move along. And where was this? I heard it recently. Oh, we were on a webinar where we heard from someone who's been in the business for a really long time. He wasn't getting any call. He wasn't booking anything anymore because he was 70 plus, right? He had just turned 70. But that particular person was very specific in his delivery anyway. It had a very, it didn't, right? So I think, that can play with you too. If I ever looked at that, I do kind of look at the on-camera world in terms of like, well, there are limited roles for me, especially in California, because everybody's young and beautiful there.
That's where the beautiful people live.
It is, but sometimes they need an old hag, and hey, I'm there for it. Bring it. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And I think, in a way, it can work in someone's favor because, honestly, I didn't start voiceover later after doing all the radio stuff because I have this gravelly stuff in my voice now. Didn't used to have that. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do anything in voiceover. Nobody wants this. It's pretty much the most booked voice that I get. That's strange for me because I thought that was the end. It didn't sound smooth anymore. It didn't have that like youthful feel to it. But
that's what she said.
But anywho, I do think there's, ageism is a thing, but you can't let that get into, because as you go through these different periods of life, you will find there's still room for you, no matter what your age. Right?
Oh, sure.
And I think it starts to thin out. Yeah. It's, trying to book all the time. So
all the time.
There's that. All the time.
Well, and I think even more so in voiceover, right? Because they don't see you.
Right.
They're hearing your voice.
Right.
And, you
Is that why we take our pictures off of our websites?
I mean, that is definitely why some people recommend that you don't have a picture on your website so that you're not giving them an excuse up front to say, no, they're too old or they're too young in some cases.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Or right? In some cases, they'd be like, I pictured somebody who was a redhead for this role.
Yeah.
Or, it's like,
I really
how
was
do you
picturing
sound like
I was really picturing somebody from Southeast Asia for this, purple alien.
That's the mindset. You have to be prepared to know that when they write a script, they've already in their brain, as they're writing the words, they've already got a character in mind. Now, they don't know who this character is, but they've already got something pictured. That's why the specs never seem to exactly match what it comes out as. But you have to be prepared for that rejection and that not misrepresentation of the word, but you just have to be open-minded with it.
Yeah. And hopefully it's because you don't sound like what they're imagining versus not looking like what they're imagining, which is never an issue for me because I have no picture in my head. That's another podcast.
That is another podcast.
It is a podcast.
Let's go!
Mindset is everything in voiceover and in life.
Be prepared.
Have fun. Don't hate life.
Wow.
Very, very prolific. And you're welcome.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I wanted to say
Write that
something
down.
else, but it's like, I don't want to say it because I know there's somebody else says that. So I'm not going to say it.
Okay. And with that, we'll see you next week.